into that awkward position. Here's some practical ways to do that. Okay, from Placido's point of view, he needs this hand to start coming towards his other hand. If my triangle is locked at his elbow, look how easily he connects his hands. I don't want my shin at his elbow. It makes it way too easy for him to get his fingertips together. What I want is my triangle locked at the wrist. Now when he goes to bring his hands together, it's significantly more difficult. The second thing, one hand is never as good as two. If you feel your opponent's desire is to turn up into you, let's go in with a classic 2-on-1 grip here. Now when he goes to connect his hands, it's significantly more difficult for him. What if your opponent extended his arm out and away and I'm losing the hand and then he can connect his hand? Okay, so if I feel I'm losing the hand, I'm going to put my forearm, like I want to look at my own watch, right there at the lever of his jaw. So as I lose Placido's right hand, I just connect wrist to wrist and I connect Placido's chin to his right shoulder. Now Placido wants to turn up to his left, but the cross space makes it impossible. The only thing he can do now is peel my hands off, but every time he does that, he brings me back to the 2-on-1. So if I lose the 2-on-1, I go cross face and reinforce it. If he peels the cross face, then I go back to the 2-on-1. So every time Placido fights to turn left, it's very, very difficult for him. Let's go, mate. Got to connect your hands. Fight your hand down and away. And can you see Placido? Between those two things, it fills a simple dilemma, which makes it exceedingly difficult for you to turn away and to leave, to get up and get those hands connected. Now, that's how we make it difficult for an opponent. Now let's look at the situation where we were maybe not paying attention the way we should have been, and your opponent does start turning up towards his knees successfully, and you're a day late and a dollar short with regards to the previous defenses. Okay. Here's what we don't want happening. What we don't want is Placido coming up, connecting his hands, and sitting up into this situation here, where you now have your foot on the far side of his body, your hips on the near side, and you're awkwardly hunched over him, desperately trying to hold on. Okay, this is a losing situation. You can be here for a brief period of time, but you can't stay here for long. Okay, so what's the golden rule? We've already stated it, fellas. The golden rule is when someone comes up on top of us in these situations, I'm not yet, buddy. I always want my feet and my hips on the same side of my opponent's body. That's so important. I'm going to say it to you again. Let's repeat a little bit. When we're in situations like this, when they connect their hands and come up on top of us, we want our feet and our hips on the same side of his body, the near side. What we don't want is our legs extending as he comes up, and now you can clearly see that my feet are on Placido's right-hand side, but my hips are on his left-hand side, and I'm in this awkward position on top. So what should we be doing? Well, one of the best ways to ensure that my feet and my hips stay on the same side, and we stay complicit with the golden rule, is that as he comes up, we switch the bottom arm control. This creates a very, very easy turn up onto the legs, and then we can triangle our legs, so when Placido goes to yank his arm out, it ain't going anywhere. Let's rotate this way. Can you see how I'm literally sitting on his arm with a triangle? So when Placido goes to violently pull his arm free, it's never going to move. Let's have a look at this whole thing from a different angle. Okay, first, the screw up. This is what we don't want happening. Placido turns up, I'm lazy with my feet, and oh no, we're in a situation now where Placido has an excellent chance of escaping because I've broken the golden rule. My right foot is on the far side of his body, my hips are on the near side, because I'm seated, there's no weight whatsoever on Placido's arm. If he just violently pulled his arm here, he could just yank out. Placido is very good at jiu-jitsu, so he'd probably do it in a more technical fashion. He would free this, no, not yet. He would free this hand, elevate my foot, and then from here, he would pull his arm free. Okay, so that's what we're looking to avoid. Let's go back. Thanks. Yeah. That's
Hand just bows up.
you probably good at this point. What are we going to do? We're going to, as I see him, I see what his intention is. I switch from top arm to bottom arm control. That makes it so easy for me to pull my 2 feet in behind me so that my feet and my hips are on the same side as Placido's body. All that remains is to lock a triangle, and then from here, when he goes to yank his arm out, it's so wedged in that Placido will tell you, there's no way that arm is coming free. Even if your opponent was covered in sweat and it was late in the match, the arm is stuck. Okay, so one more time. Okay, you can tell what your opponent's intentions are because he starts turning in this direction. Okay, if I stay here with my foot in place, there's a danger that we could end up in this very awkward position. So when I see what his intention is, I just switch my legs so that it's so easy to pull my feet back and then lock up that triangle, sit on his elbow, and now when he goes to yank his arm free, it's so difficult and we can start working our way into strangles and doing all the things we like to do out of our crucifixes. So that's our first method. Now, an obvious point here is, okay, that makes sense, but what if I'm too slow? What if I have top arm control and Placido gets up so quickly that it's like, oh man, I didn't have time to make the switch. What do I do now? If you feel, for whatever reason, that it's going to be difficult to make that switch in the time available, then we have to use a different method. I'm going to be disciplined with my feet. Remember, the sin in these situations is that your opponent comes up and you're lazy with your feet and you end up in this awkward situation where your feet are on the far side, your hips are on the near side. So what we're going to do is we're going to close our triangle. We're going to point our knees in the same direction our opponent's going, and instead of locking my hands, I'm going to put my hand here ready as a base of support. So that as Placido comes up, I back heel with both of my feet. So that when we come up into a situation where my feet are on the same side as my hips. Let's have a look at that again. Again, if my feet are extended and he comes up, that's the penalty. Oh no, bad position. I have to be disciplined with my feet. I pull them back and retract them so that as he comes up, it's easy for us to heist over our opponent and stay in a good position on top. Let's have a look at this from another angle. So, Placido comes up, we retract our feet and come up very easily on top of them. We've got a triangle locked over his arm, so when he tries to yank the arm out, it's extremely difficult, and now we're in the perfect position to control with the back crucifix. Okay, so those are really effective ways to stay in accordance with the golden rule of the back crucifix, that we always want in situations where our opponent is coming up on top of us with locked hands to keep our feet and our hips on the same side of his body. Anytime you break that rule, things can get pretty grim pretty quickly. But if you make sure you stay in accordance with the rule, you'll always be fine. Now, and an obvious question here is, okay, what if I just screw up? What if, I get lazy or I'm not thinking straight and the guy just explosively gets up and I'm stuck looking at a situation where my feet are on the wrong side, my hips are on the other side. What do I do now? Okay, no problem. My favorite thing to do in these situations is to go into an attack of the triangle. One particular variation of it, the so-called Hantai Senkaku, or the triangle locked the wrong way, so to speak. I have to do this one on the other side, guys, because my hip replacement won't allow me to do this one on the other side. So, from a situation where we start off with a training partner in like so, and we have the usual leg configuration, and then for whatever reason, Placido comes up, and I get caught in this awkward situation like so. I lose control of my training partner's arm, and you're caught now in this terrible situation where you're sitting on top of the arm with no real control over him. In these situations, we're going to take a hand and we're going to hug our training partner's far armpit and post the near hip. So I have two controls, a post and a hook right here at the armpit. Now, I'm going to take my knee and pass it through somewhat like an elbow escape, just like so. Then my second hand comes over the top and I underhook the far side and I place a foot from the hip right here. Don't worry, I'll show you from multiple angles. You'll see it very soon. Now I'm going to take my foot and palm it through and pull out my training partner's arm so we can lock up the so-called Hantai Senkaku and make the various adjustments into a good tight triangle stranglehold and finish with a strangle. So let's have a look at that from another angle so you can see what's going on. Okay, starting with the crucifix. We're in here, and for whatever reason, Placido was able to extend out and come up on top. Not what we were looking for, but it happens, right? We catch a handle in the armpit. We post on our training partner's hip, so we can take our knee free like so. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to go back into a back crucifix from this situation. So much better instead, we're going to hook and hold right in here. As my bottom foot goes to my training partner's hip, I want to create a situation where I can start getting into this position. What we're looking for is to create a situation where we can almost invert on our training partner and pull that foot high up into the armpit and lock the figure of four. When Placido goes to yank out, it's so difficult. When we squeeze, you get an enormously tight triangle. A couple more times because there's a lot going on here. So, from our initial position, we lock in and he starts coming up. From here we catch, post, and bring the knee out. Okay? Once we get here, we capture our training partner's arm. He goes to pull away from us. We're always pulling that arm in nice and tight. Now from here, we put a foot over the top of our training partner and lock up into this position. We bring the foot all the way up to the armpit and lock and close the figure of four. Once you squeeze in a position like this, the submission is very, very tight. Okay? And that's a great way for you to recover from what looks like a completely failed back crucifix position. Now, we've been looking at this idea of a set of positions dealing with three very useful strategies that an opponent can use to escape from back crucifix. We're trying to put him in the crucifix. He's trying to escape, obviously. Now let's look at one of the most common problems that you